thank you, David, for the time and for making a space for this conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So, well, the main idea of having this interview was to talk about this new assignment that you have. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
We understand now is president and CEO of Maritz Holdings, but you still will keep the president of Maritz Global Events also as a great responsibility. But now you have more responsibilities with other units that the business has. So I don't know if you can tell us a little about of this, because as many people in Mexico and Latin America are familiar with the Maritz company and all the Maritz history, maybe you can explain us a little bit how will this be on a change on your role. You now will be president of the Maritz Holding, but still keeping an eye on the Maritz event side. But can you tell us a little bit about that?
You bet. So Maritz Holdings really goes back to the original days of Maritz, which is about 128 years ago that the company was founded. It's gone through many evolutions, as you can imagine, over that time. And with the decision that Steve Maritz, who is our sole owner, made, and then we announced in December, is Steve is moving from a day-to-day management role to an executive chairman role, and has asked me to take on the president and CEO role of Maritz Holdings, in addition to my role as president of Maritz Global Events. So what that means is, as a holdings company, we have 3 business units plus our corporate center. So it's really 4 different entities that make up the holding company. We have Maritz Motivation, which is the original company, dates back, decades. We have Maritz Global Events, which dates back to 1958. And then we have Maritz Automotive, which is more recent. That is an arm of our organization that serves the original equipment manufacturing auto companies, as well as dealer networks and dealers, individual dealers, auto dealers. And that is all supported by a corporate center that we call Global Business Solutions, or GBS. Really, at the end of the day, we are all about people and performance. And our company is based on a really solid foundation of understanding around behavioral science that drives our design practice, that drives the results that we ultimately deliver for our customers. So that really is our company in a nutshell, and the responsibilities that I have.
Okay, that's great. As many people will say, we congratulate you. It's a great news, but you will say, well, yes, it's nice news, but it's more responsibility on a really important company for the meetings industry at all. We understand that having 125 years, it will come to the most longevity company around the meetings industry. We can talk about that. Maybe Maritz will set a lot of the trends that we can see along the history of the meetings industry.
Yes, absolutely. And if you look at the evolution of our company and what we've meant to many different industries, the auto industry, the financial services industry, and then the events industry, which is where I've spent most of my career, I do think the company's had significant impact and has really established, I think, a reputation and a brand that is anchored in design and behavioral science, in innovation, and in constantly trying to lead the pack, if you will, and to make sure that we are seen as an industry leader, a thought leader, but also an ethical leader, and an organization that is purpose-driven and that attracts the best of the best to be a part of our family. That's great.
Taking advantage of having a person of your how you have your role right now, it will be more important. We understand we have been 1 year and almost 2 years with all these pandemic times and many things that have changed around. But I think sometimes we can leave that on the past and we can talk about the future, and we can say, how do you think things will come? How Maritz is planning to see the outcome of all this? We are listening around that we are soon to come out and say that the pandemic times are gone, that this COVID-19 will stay as an endemic thing, but well, it will come as a normal cold, and we will have to take care of an medicine, but that will be that. But we are worried about how we can recover the times of our events, the time of the economics, because the economics were also really impacted. How do you think Maritz in the side of the events, and how do you see the future coming on the meetings industry and as a company?
Yeah, thank you for that question. There's no doubt that we've been through some really difficult and dark days over the last 2 years, particularly in Maritz Global Events. We were crushed, like many others, when our business basically disappeared, and in many instances was outlawed. And that was gatherings of 50 or more, or 10 or more, really around the globe. What we decided is that you have two choices, right? You can pack up your things and shut down, or you can look at this as an opportunity, and an opportunity to sort of re-engineer the company and to create a new future. And so that's what we decided is, I think there's a famous saying from Winston Churchill, don't waste a good crisis. And we decided we were not going to waste this crisis. So about a year ago, we sat down and really put together a framework of where we wanted to take this company. And I'm going to talk specifically about Maritz Global Events and where we saw the opportunity for evolution, in some cases, revolution of our business. And we created 6 guideposts, and those guideposts were really the guardrails of our recovery, so that we didn't get off track, that we stayed focused. And we're in the midst of that right now. It's a 3-year plan. We're just at the end of year 1. We're making great progress, but we're looking at everything from how do we continue to develop our professional services with that design anchor? How do we become easier to work with for our clients and our industry partners? So smart simplicity. How do we address technology? Where do we have to build our own? But in most cases, how do we go out and find, buy or build, or buy or lease or borrow technology and become the best in class users of that technology? How do we work with the right customer base that values what we value? And we call that intentional growth. And then how do we develop a culture and continue to evolve our culture? And that is an area that we call organizational health. And that is where we're addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion, where we're addressing issues like sustainability, but also culture. And when you go through a crisis like this, your culture takes a hit. And we acknowledge that, and we're working diligently to continue to be true to ourselves, be true to our core values, and to make sure that we are living to our purpose and our mission as an organization. So while it's been difficult to go through, we are definitely in the recovery stage now. The recent variants have certainly not helped us, delayed things a little bit, but we're still very bullish on the future, on the marketplace, and this should be really an excellent year for us as we come out of these 2 very difficult years.
That's for sure. Amazing, this work you're making, and this 3-year strategy that you have placed in. And also an advantage, I think I understand, Maritz as a global company could handle to understand how these pandemic times were in different regions, because sometimes some people had only the measurements that they had on their own country. But I think Maritz, one of the advantages might be that you have and you provide information from many other regions, that you can understand how the trends will behave, and how because we saw that started in China, then Europe, then the Americas. So that's something that Maritz also had an advantage to, and to place this strategic plan of 3 years.
Yeah, we, with our global meetings network, and we're fortunate, we have 2 incredible general managers that are a part of that. Ben Godegeber, who's based out of The Hague, and Eduardo Chaillo, who handles our Latin America and Mexico region. Ben really handles the EMEA region as well as Asia Pacific now. And I think with the Global Meetings Network that we created 7 years ago now, with partner, I think about 30 or 31 partners in over 60 countries. And so that gives us an advantage of not only our normal reach, but then through our partners in that additional region to really understand what's going on in each marketplace. And they've been instrumental in helping us really get through these difficult times. We've been on the Zoom calls, team calls with our Global Meetings Network on a regular basis for the last 2 years and kept connected. And that has really allowed us to really make sure that we're not too US centric, that we keep that global perspective and that we're able to monitor what's going on in our industry, in our business all across the globe.
Well, that's really important, and that helps you to set some of the trends that many things around the meetings market will need right now. No, and also another interesting thing that I will ask to you is like, with all this network and with all this information, do you have 2 or 3 things that you can share with us you saw have changed and will change for the future? Like, well, we understand technology came in and will stay with us, will help us to continue developing, but what events face to face will come back and will come back stronger. But some of the trends that you might think you listen from your partners in the network or from of the regions is really interesting to listen from you.
Yeah, I think, the logical ones you say are around technology and hybrid and virtual meetings. So I won't go down that path. But I'll start with people. I think the significant change that has occurred in our industry and really in our world is around people and the acquisition of talent, the retention of talent, and the development of talent. And to me, that's number one on my list is how do we make sure that we are meeting the needs of the new workforce? The dynamic has changed. The employee is now much more in control. We know that the work from home environment is here to stay. It's not right for everybody, and it's not right for everyone in our organization, but it has created a very different dynamic. So how do we attract, how do we keep, and how do we train our talent base is front and center, and that has significantly changed. And I think that's for good. I don't think that we're ever going to go back to any of the way it used to be, and I think we're embracing that. We've always been heavily virtual in our company, so what happened 2 years ago wasn't a huge issue for us. We fortunately had the technology and systems in place that allowed us to work very efficiently from home. But it's a different dynamic now with the employee base. And so how we address issues that are really important to what I would point out as a second issue, which is this area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think it was before the George Floyd issue here in the United States last spring. It was really something we all dealt with, but not really with the concentration and the effort that we are all putting into it now. And I don't think it's negotiable. I think it's something that, again, it ties into the talent issue because people want to be a part of an organization that has a firm grasp and strategy around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And then the third I would throw out is sustainability, which I mentioned earlier. Again, I think that was something we were all involved in especially with the meetings industry, but now it's not negotiable. It is not, it really is table stakes. It is really what every client expects us to have is a sustainability practice. And we've taken it to the next level. We've taken it to a well-being practice, and sustainability falls under our well-being umbrella. And we've developed a whole practice around that, our 5 dimensions of well-being. It's something that we're very proud of and bringing to market. So those are 3 intertwined trends that I think are here and here to stay. So it's all about the people and talent. It's about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's about sustainability.
Wow, that's really amazing. And most of all, what you talk about people and getting more matter about the people and around the people, because I think we understood that the crisis came to the companies and it impact in the economic way, but I think everybody lived at different pandemic times in their homes, in their families, having some people that are no longer with us, and I think that was one of the greatest challenges, that we had to understand that single people had lived the pandemic in different ways, and they have to come out and understand how they can come better on these times, and it's really, really amazing to understand all these values about getting around the people. So and it will come to the most when we are ready and when we are still coming back with the live events. I think we will value a lot that we will be together again. We will have the face-to-face, as we are seeing now in many events around. But I think we will value again this sharing with people and being alive, as everybody says, right? And with this also, as you said, well, we understand technology and the role that it will play along with the next time, the next years coming with us. But how do you see in the next months how clients are relying on getting more events? Because at some point the clients were like skeptic and they say, well, I don't think I'm coming back again with the live events. And some of the clients, when they experience the technology, they say, well, I think I will no longer have to make more live events because I understand that I succeed my needs with the technology. But I think these are the times that now everybody's again thinking about getting around back on live events. I think employees of many companies are saying they are tired of being connected and they need to go out and they need to touch people and to say hello to people and peers and share many information. How do you think your clients are taking this on the next months and seeing that this 2022 will really be a really good year for everybody and we will see the events coming back again?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing with our clients is that everyone has sort of come to the conclusion that an event is an event no matter how you deliver it, right? It can be delivered in person, it can be delivered virtually or hybrid. But I think without a doubt, our background has all been in face-to-face events, and our clients are almost universally really recommitting to being in person. They can deliver content other ways. Every meeting, every event is going to be designed differently. But we really see a recommitment to that face-to-face experience because it cannot be replaced by this. As good as this is, we had a saying that we've used over the last 2 years, it fills the void, but not the gap. Or you can turn it around, it fills the gap but not the void. And I think, either way it works because we need, as human beings, we need to connect. We need to have live face-to-face conversations. Commerce happens more effectively in a face-to-face environment. I'm heading off to PCMA's Convening Leaders in Las Vegas on Sunday, and there are over 3,000 people are going to be there, even with the variant issue going on right now, because of everyone's commitment to being there in person. We have some inquiries right now around postponements of events, but unlike other waves that have occurred, we're seeing very little cancellation right now. A few postponements, but very little cancellation. So we see a lot of people recommitting and saying, no, we're going forward. Everyone's had the chance to do the right thing, which is to get vaccinated. And we're going to have the right safety and health protocols on site to make sure our events are conducted in the most healthy and safe way possible. But at some point, this is going to become endemic, not a pandemic. And we're just going to have to learn to live with it. And I think that's kind of the stage that we're approaching. We see what happened to South Africa, a very quick turnaround from the variant that started down there. And they're basically back at it. And we actually have clients that are going to South Africa in the coming months. So we're still very much focused on face-to-face. We will deliver content and meetings in multiple different ways. But at the end of the day, remain very bullish about the future of our industry, face-to-face events, live trade shows, et cetera. So that's kind of our position of what we're seeing from our clients.
Okay, that's great. That's great news. And listening that are less events that will be canceled and more postponed, and that now people are understanding. We heard around the health organizations that this Omicron variant is the last one that we will see on the COVID-19. This is kind of the way the scientific side and the medical part are saying that Omicron is kind of the way the COVID-19 is getting less and less and less. So that's great news to listen as we started on this pandemic and industry. Don't cancel, just postpone and work with your suppliers and with your strategic allies to deliver really strong and more careful events with all the things that we need around. As some of the futurist people said that this kind of crisis are from 10 years to 10 years. We saw in the 2019, or we saw in 2009 that the swine flu and the economic crisis, and then Everybody said that this was supposed to happen with the COVID-19. But understanding that from here to the next 10 years, do you think we will be more prepared if these kind of futuristic things happen? That now the humans, the economies, the companies, everybody, the governments will be more prepared if something in the 10 years to come will have something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have the faith that that's the case. We certainly have the technology now to, I think, deal with just about anything, although none of us thought a pandemic was going to be possible just, a couple of years ago. So, your qualifiers are very accurate based on what we know today. Absolutely, we're more prepared. And I think what we've seen is that this industry and people in general are incredibly resilient. Think about what we've been through and just the roller coaster of emotions and just difficulties that we've all been faced. And, our hearts go out to everyone that's been affected directly by the pandemic, with health issues and deaths all around the globe. But we absolutely are going to be better prepared. As an industry, we're better prepared. And I think we've changed our mindset from being so centered on just the face-to-face experience. Now we know an event is an event. We're going to design with intent, and we're going to deliver content in a way that is meaningful to the attendee. So I'm sure things are going to continue to evolve. We have to, otherwise you die. And so I think, that's exciting to me. That's why I'm still doing what I'm doing at this stage of my career, because I'm fired up about what the future holds and how exciting it's going to be part of this industry as we embrace different technologies, as we embrace different ways to design and execute events and drive value for our customers. And that's what gets me up and going every day.
That's great. That's great. One of the things that we understand that Maritz does really good is deliver experience, not events, deliver experience. That's right. So the coming of the events will be around that. So you have kind of a trend that you knew that will happen on a statement of your company, and that will be more about the events, right? The experience of the events, more than having only an event.
Absolutely. Correct? We've been a believer in that for decades. We started our design studio practice, our experience design practice over 10 years ago. And then before that, with one of our divisions, which used to be Experience, we were already down that path in the early 2000s. So we believe that every business is a stage, and it's an opportunity for us to really make an impact on everyone that is interacting with that event. And it comes down to the experience, and it comes down to the emotional response that you have to that experience and how you attach that to a company, a brand, and fulfilling the goals and objectives of each and every event.
That's perfect. Just heading to the closing of this great interview, this is more on a personal way. Can you share with us some of the David Peckinpaugh's learnings from this pandemic? What do you can share with us that were some of your own learnings that you can share with all the audience? And what book do you are reading right now, or what book did you read in the past year and a half that you will say change your mindset, or you will share with everybody? And the music you listen when you are not thinking about events, that the music that you think relax you, or you travel with this music, these personal issues that you can share with everybody to get to know you better.
Sure. Boy, you threw me a lot at that. See if I can remember all that. Lessons learned. I would say, communication's always been important, but I think the importance of communication, regular, timely, accurate, honest communication has been something that has really been anchored with me. I get a lot of feedback that we've done that fairly well. We haven't been perfect by any means, but I think our dedication to honest, open communication, regular communication has helped. Second lesson is, we all underestimated the pandemic, and there's a thing called the Stockdale Paradox, which is you have to face the hard, brutal facts head on, and then make decisions quickly and swiftly. And I think we learned that the hard way in the first probably 3 or 4 months of the pandemic. Is we all thought it was going to be something that was going to end quickly, and it didn't. And we failed to see the hard, cold, brutal facts. And but then when we did, we had to make the decisions we had to make. And the third one for me was sticking to a routine. I think it was so easy through all this to get thrown out of your normal routine and to get into really bad habits. So for me personally, it was getting up and going every day. It was regular workouts and sticking to an appropriate diet, controlling the alcohol consumption and all those things. So those are sort of three immediate lessons that I take out of this that I think will serve me well in the future. As far as music, my music taste is very eclectic. I go to Pandora, I listen to Pandora a lot, and I have a whole variety of different Pandora stations. But at the end of the day, for something that relaxes me, I like smooth jazz. I'm a jazz fan. I'm going to a jazz club tomorrow night here in St. Louis. And big jazz fan. And our GM Eduardo, I know, is a big jazz fan as well. And then a book, I've got a stack of books that I will honestly say I'm being negligent to get through. The one that I read that has probably had the most impact on me is a book called Radical Candor. And it's something that we've brought into the organization. It's something that I have personally been trying to improve my ability to be more candid and more radically candid, but always coming from a place of care and compassion and empathy. And so if you haven't read the book Radical Candor, I really recommend it.
Okay, that's great. Well, those are kind of the things that we want to know and maybe more about David Peckinpaugh on private life. But congratulations for this new role. We understand it's a huge responsibility, but it's a really great honor that you have been appointed on this role, because that only reflects all the trust and all the great job you have been doing down there in Maritz. And it's also great to know that you still be president of the Maritz Global event. So we will continue to see you really close to us, because when you have a really high role as a president of a holding, it knows, and we know that takes more time for the trustees and everybody, but it will be great to see you also around in the exhibition floors and in the event floor as TCMA community leaders in Vegas. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing with us all these trends, all this thinking, and a little bit personal part of you. We would like to see you maybe next in one of our World Meetings Forum, and maybe to have some more interviews maybe at the mid of the year to see how everything is coming back and how do you see the next trends on the meetings industry.
That would be terrific. It'd be my honor. Thank you, Rafa, very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.